How the hell has it been 3 years since this video was released? You remember this video from like 3 years ago, which was not made of good quality? Times really have changed, huh? Well, ever since I released that video 3 years ago, not only has the content changed for this channel, but people have requested me to do a sequel. For the 3-year anniversary of this video, why not give y'all a sequel of this video that changed the type of content that I make for this channel? And that is, what your favorite railroad says about you. You know the deal. If you disagree with these takes, that's perfectly fine. These aren't perfect. I'm not saying this is 100% facts. Just please be civil in the comments, okay? You live within the western portion of the United States, and a major history buff at that. By the way, Great Big Rolling Railroad is your national anthem. You're probably late way more often than you're on time. You can give less of a fuck for their heritage units, let alone their modern day crap. You just like them for all the cool shit they had, or their predecessor roads. You live primarily in the northeast, or are some unfunny edgelord referencing that one derailment from 2 years ago. You're more than likely a SoCal foamer and will scream over the same GEVO sets on Z trains. Or, if you're a Chad, only care for their local power because it's the only good shit left in your eyes. You have the patience of a saint and get SC40 liters every day. You can agree that they fell off ever since the GEVOs arrived, but unlike BNSF, you kinda hate their EMDs for how ugly they look. You want Canada to burn because of that merger. You're accident prone. I don't know, whenever I think of Ferromex, I think of how many crossing accidents they have, don't blame me. You're similar to an Amtrak fan, but you chug syrup. And you wish that the government didn't cut most of the services back in the 1990s. Your fallen flag preference is basic, but hey, I won't judge. After all, the BN is the GOAT! You despise Penn Central, or you really crave that Eiffel 65 song. You just love everything about them, mostly because you got into them thanks to the War Bonnet scheme, right? You're a Midwestern foamer, and probably an EMD supremacist. Southern Pacific Roll-On is your national anthem, or you base your entire fictional railroad off of it like it's scripture. You prefer minimalism when it comes to livery design. You care more for the original Illinois Central instead of whatever the Gulf was. Maybe. You watch Thunderbolt, or you're a Philly resident. Let me guess, you like them for the heritage units. You question on how much they spend so much money building free parking lots for stations that only serve 4 trains a day, or you choose to foam over their old cab cars and F-59s. You're a locale around or on Long Island, and a Penzi fan. Did I just say fan 2 times? You've been alienated by their crappy horns and freaky rebuilds. You're a literal iPad foamer in SoCal, screaming at every F-125 in a 500-mile vicinity. You want control. You want everything. You firmly believed you achieved quite a lot, and will probably fight with those that think the New York Central is better, meaning you have a target on your back. You probably have someone in your family that worked at a coal mine. You have elegance, but don't want to associate legacy with yourself. Or you think that Alfred E. Perlman was a reincarnation of the devil. You couldn't give a fuck on how bad they were. You just worship them because of this legend right here. 50 years of great railroading. The Penn Central. Penn Central, baby. You can count on us. What am I doing with my life? Your first exposure to this railroad was by pictures of the Feather River Canyon, the California Zephyr, or their F units. You're a massive heist fan and treat the narrow gauge stuff as the coming of Christ. But you likely think of their standard gauge stuff once in a blue moon, probably. Camelbacks are your personality. You want people to leave your valley. I couldn't think of anything better. Your home state is Michigan, and you likely associated with the various memes surrounding it. And no, I'm not going to call it by that other nickname. You're against any armchair urbanists, or you're in a spiritual relationship with one of their locomotives. Nostalgia is your only character trait, and it's your pulling power. You're a simp for their steam locomotives, or you go to Steamtown. You have a thing for watching accidents happen, so in other words, you're twisted. You don't follow dress codes, or you're a reckless driver. You're a major history buff. You could care less for the environment, you just like to see smoke because funny. You really must love the Appalachians, right? You just keep hammering that one meme into the ground even when it becomes old. You refuse to give up until you run out of money. You only remember them because of the Berkshires and maybe the PAs, or their diesels, or 587. You love the logo because it has a cute animal in it, or you're secretly a fur. You firmly believe 19th century railroading is superior. You could care less for the diesel roster, like, be honest. You may stick to tradition, but will always take in things that aren't the norm. You know, like export models. You just want to have fun, while unintentionally having people getting on your ass. You wish the Saluda grade wasn't abandoned, or you have a craving towards high hoods. You're waiting for the day that CN's lease with the company ends. Or you just have a craving towards rock lights. You sit at Paradise for hours to see the same steam locomotives repeatedly. Nobody gives a shit for this merger if there's shitty ass livery! You honestly just dig getting the old school shit and sharing it amongst your peers. I mean, hey, second gen EMDs coast to coast, we'll take it. It's pretty obvious, you live in Florida. Let me guess, you're more familiar with their modern day appearance compared to them in the 1930s when they weren't the best company. You worship the Zephyr trains and likely have ridden on the Nebraska Zephyr more than once. You like Canadian EMDs, or GMDs, but sometimes you wonder when they're going to run the F units. You're into the unknown, such as the EMD switchers hidden behind closed doors. You base your entire roster off your former fantasies, hence why you have shit like SE-70s, F-59s, SPVs, and fucking HST! You live around the Boston area, and could care less about the purple colors. Your name's Kyle. You have a railroad name to yourself. Doesn't that make you a narcissist? Your home state is Pennsylvania, and coal trains are your passion. If you like this railroad, you need help, bro.